Hello there! Today in this video we are going to upgrade Blade Vortex Archmage League Starter into higher budget endgame setup. This upgrade have Chaos damage immunity from Chaos Inoculation Keystone, high level of effective HP including physical damage protection, as well as high sustained damage. This build is suitable for any type of content in the game and can forgive you a lot of gameplay mistakes. If you are interested in how to level this build, check out League Starter video. That previous video featured very low budget tanky build that can carry you in the first week of the league and farm you all the currency for this upgrade. Main idea behind this build is ability to avoid Chaos damage with Chaos Inoculation Keystone. Build have huge and reserved mana pool with more than 600 increased mana on passive tree and extra mana from Replica Column's Heart unique chest, Pledge of Hands unique staff and a zero foible unique amulet. We take mana pool and scale it with 3 sets of cluster jewels on your passive tree. That include at least 3 skin tone and idea notables for great damage on large cluster jewels with 8 small passive skill points. And then your 3 large cluster jewels host 6 small cluster jewels with stubborn student notables. Our unreserved mana pool allow us to push our passive armor from stubborn student notables to 37k, that translates into 75% passive physical damage mitigation. Since we are CI based build, we have only 1 HP. That means that stun calculations are made for 1.5k of your base HP before it is overwritten by CI. For that reason, if you run into stun issues, just run anti-stun Pantheon and Cinder Swallow Urn with stun avoidance. Mind over Meta Keystone and other similar effects protect only health and do not account for energy shield unless it's stated otherwise. That is why we were totally fine on League Starter with Corrupted Soul Keystone from Replica Soul Feather with 50% damage skipping to the health. Mind over Matter was totally fine on Ivory Tower Archmage thanks to Ivory Tower effect coupled with Coruscating Elixir. Since we cannot apply these tools to our build anymore, we totally abandoned our Mind over Matter Keystone. That is why we need to scale our energy shield at maximum values. For that we rely on our Sanctuary of Flood Ascendancy, making edit conversion of 20% mana into energy shield. Then we use Clarity Aura with Watcher's Eye and 10% of mana gained as extra energy shield with Clarity Aura effect active, and Mind Spiral unique helmet with extra 10% of mana gained as extra energy shield, and well, yeah. I totally forgot about this helmet until this moment when I started recording, and I have recorded all the gameplay footage with League Starter Crown of Inner Eye. Which is great, but as you can see I have only 6.5k energy shield, but with the Mind Spiral you get up to 8.2k energy shield, that translates into extra 8k passive effective HP. And speaking of effective HP, we have 38 passive effective HP across every damage source, aside, well, physical damage over time, not the ordinary physical damage, only damage over time, which is of course your bleeding, for example. And then we have the 48k passive effective HP with the Fortify effect, but well, about that a bit more later. And now, passive tree. First big change in our passive tree is Dynamo notable. We allocate it through our Foible Amulet Annoyance. That is why we totally abandon center part of the tree for better mana sustain and point allocation. Then we go down west for Sanctum of Thought notable cluster with extra mana and critical damage mitigation. And here we get our first cluster jewel setup. We also locate the Zealot Oath Keystone to convert our life regeneration into energy shield regeneration from things like max level Vitality Aura and other effects on our passive tree. We route through north part of the passive tree for our second cluster jewel setup. We still maintain the Elemental Overload Keystone since we are not crit based build. While we do not benefit from life thanks to Chaos Inoculation Keystone, with Healthy Mind we convert all of the life nodes into extra mana in north part of the tree. Healthy Mind alone is responsible for 77% extra mana, that is huge chunk from our 600% plus increased mana with our passive tree. We still retain all the good notables like Lightning Walker for extra damage and lightning resist, Insightfulness for extra energy shield and mana, Arcane Wheel for that extra 3% of mana as extra energy shield, and my favorite Mystic Bulwark with spell block edit conversion into mana regeneration from our Pledge of Hands unique. On the northeast part of the tree we have last third set of cluster jewels. We stretch all the way to Mind Drinker notable to have nice mana sustain paired with Cinder Swallow Urn Flask. We allocate our Chaos Inoculation, which is well self-explanatory, and then Ghost River Keystone to leech double amount of energy shield from energy leech support on our 6th link. And finally Intensify Notable to help us to boost our damage on demand from Intensify support with our, well, 6th link. So, we host our 6th link in Pledge of Hands unique stuff. This build can operate with same Blade Vortex setup from League Starter if you are really into tier 19 maps and want to be more tanky, but I do not really run that and prefer to use Spellcaster Shock Nova setup since my PC could not really handle Dual Beyond Delirium T19 maps anyway as good as I want, so...
Like at all?
Or maybe I just want to masquerade Blade Vortex build, so GG would not rework Blade Vortex because it's too popular, you know?
Both setups are in the path of building for your convenience anyway. And as before, we are still Archmage support build, so we reap all the damage rewards from our insane mana pool. As stated in previous chapter, we use Energy Leech support for Energy Shield sustain, and then we get Intensify support to have that extra damage on demand once you stop moving, and of course we generate our Intensify stacks from Apex Mode unique Jewel. Then we exploit built-in Greater Spell Echo from Pledge of Hands unique stuff, and for that we are using Spell Echo support. Together they increase mana sustain and allow us to deal maximum sustain damage. And both supports will oscillate area of effect quite a bit with Greater Spell Echo effect and Intensify stacks and Intensify support area of effect. Once you play it, you will get used to it and will get into that groove. It is really straightforward. And last but not least is the Consecrated Effect support. Yes, we do not use any gem swap this time around, and we achieve actually all of our area effect from the Ascendancy and from things like Large Cluster Jewel Suffix Notable, likewise Pre-Destruction, and for example a Helmet Enchantment for your particular spell. For our Dynamo Notable and Arcane Surge triggers, we maintain Arcane Cloak setup. That include our second wind support with Arcane Surge itself, and then extra cherry on top Flame Dash movement skill to work and synergize with second wind. Since we do not rely on Mind Over Matter Keystone anymore, we can totally maintain our mana with all that extra damage from our Arcane Cloak and trigger Dynamo Notable and Arcane Surge meanwhile. To continue our automation from League Starter, we run Castfile Channeling setup with low level Cyclone to fit into our available Dexterity. Then we get a level 20 Conductivity Curse and Fortify support to have that extra 20% damage mitigation. That allow us to push our effective HP from 38k to 48k in places like boss fights and tier 19 Delirium maps. And this is the reason why Blade Vortex generally tankier than any other spell. You simply have more time to trigger your Fortify support even on map clear. And as mentioned before, in our last 4 link we run max level Vitality Aura for that extra conversion of life regeneration into energy shield regeneration from our Zealot's Oath Keystone, and then we get level 1 Clarity Aura to get that Watcher's Eye effect going. And then we run cast when damage taken on level 1 with level 7 Wave of Conviction to get that Lightning Penetration damage automation, and last but not least is our last gem Wrath Aura in our single Essence Swarm, so we have our mana pool nice and clean without any mana reservation for that Archmage support damage and Stubborn Student Notable flat armor. There are several valuable tips for our rare gear. First, it is sensible to run heavy belt base type to fill that strength requirements from our belt implicit. Then don't forget about Cerulean Ring with that extra mana from implicit as well. And to buff mana pool, also on our ring and Aziri Foible Amulet, use Fertile Catalyst to increase maximum mana, and then you can get tiny bit of resistance on your cluster jewels as well as all of your dexterity required for the build. And if you are running Blade Vortex, remember that you do not need to go over level 5 with that high dexterity, since we scale our damage from Archmage support and high level Blade Vortex just simply do nothing. On your large cluster jewels, if you are not sure about notable placement allocation, just copy item snapshot from the Path of Exile / trade into Path of Building and apply new item to the build to check notable allocation. This is really simple and will save you a lot of headache and currency. You can totally get away with only dual notable large cluster jewels. But as stated before, getting that extra widespread destruction notable for extra area of effect, or especially overshock notable for extra damage from your shocks, is a really great addition to your lightning penetration and extra mana from your ordinary notable. Well, we are really tanky, we have even 30k HP, even with all my subpar gear, with not the helmet that you actually need to run. And, well, it is pleasant ride, but you still can die to some things. For example, Awaken Rate Sirius, well, do not stack like 8 stacks of, you know, Sirius debuff, because if you also will stand in some damage over time, red on red stuff, you will die, you know, even with the Fortify. Do not do that. And of course, for all hardcore players, well, do not run Val Temple bosses, please do not do that, do not try that, because Bone Rain from that boss with, you know, I think it is just, you know, like broken. Here and now, like some streamer will die on very tanky builds to that, with like 20k energy shield or something like that, and yeah, this build, even though it's really tanky, it will still die to the Bone Rain. I have like survival rate of 22% from 18 temple maps that I run, so yeah, this is not a great idea for the hardcore. And here we are in the end of the line, Exiles. So this build will most likely stay unchanged in the 3.13 unless some skills or spells maybe change, but we have the backup plan always. Always check the pinned comments down below, because there is most relevant information considering the league that we are in at the moment. Of course, everything that we know about 3.13, there are nothing to change about Hierophant, for example. And I'm really happy about the new builds in the 3.13. I invite you in the comments down below, leave the comment what you want to see next, because this channel is really small and you can request stuff from me, of course, because what else I would do, you know? And of course, as always, thank you for watching and have a pleasant day. To continue our automation from the league starter, we run Chaos Inoculation.